Well, welcome. It's a small crowd. Keep in mind, when Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccination using cowpox, he was basically ridden out of town, saying you can't do that, it doesn't work, and Louis Pasteur, and all great scientific breakthroughs have been met. We have an extra issue in this country where stem cells have become a political wedge issue. That's not really helping the situation either. The new president will sign an executive order. Stem cell research is not against the law in the United States. The federal funding of it is against the law. That is to say, the federal budget cannot be used to support embryonic stem cell research. These are umbilical. That should remove some of the controversy. And once that executive order is signed, if there's any money left in the Treasury, it can be applied towards this. It can be applied towards this once the executive order is signed. Now, I'm quite familiar with stem cells. They've been used for hematologic cancers for a long time. You basically destroy the bone marrow of somebody with leukemia and use hematologic stem cells. And I've had other patients go to Europe, to Asia, for stem cell treatments, or ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, if you will, and also go for spinal cord injuries, Parkinson's. We know that lion tamer, Siegfried and Roy, went to Germany for stem cells and came back more functional. It's not a magic bullet. He didn't come back walking on tiptoes, but he came back with better functioning at a better level in his spinal cord. And the hope is that with more physical therapy, more treatments, things can get better. I know Cameron for a long time, and I can see that he sees better now. He's lost that nystagmus, that shaking eyeball business you have when you can't see. He fixates in certain quadrants. His functioning is better. He has more than just optic nerve hypoplasia. He has Mortier syndrome, which is more of a global defect in the midline of the brain. It affected the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, the structure of the brain itself. And we are proof positive, X-ray-wise and functioning-wise, that he's doing better. Is he perfectly normal for a child his age? No. But he's presented, the family's presented with no other option by his other doctors, and they said there's nothing else that can be done. Now, physicians like myself have to be careful. We can't recommend every treatment that comes along that you read about in the Inquirer. But if there is science behind it, and if there is some kind of regulatory situation guiding it, like you see here now, you're not just sending people off to pie-in-the-sky treatments that are basically taking you to the cleaners, taking your money, and not doing any good. We know the potential for stem cells exists because we've used them in this country on a very limited basis for treating leukemia, certain bone marrow diseases. People have had it done for Parkinson's disease using fetal stem cells. And again, it's become a wedge issue. People say you're harvesting one human to help another. We can sit and have a religious discussion about that all day. I think that eventually you'll find stem cells derived from umbilical tissue. You'll find it derived in a way where you don't have to use embryos at all. And then we'll be out of excuses. We'll have to start looking into this. And certain medical schools in the United States are looking into this now to see if there's anything to this. We know they work for bone marrow disease, and we know it's been tried on a limited basis, but we're really interested in, and you'll see a lot of people here, spinal cord injuries. Usually the one area was the only hope very often. In fact, it is the only hope. A lot of people have been told you'll never walk again, you'll never move your arms again. And if it's a possibility that it'll work, and if it won't hurt the patient, why not try it? If you don't want to do it now, at least have the kind of therapy to keep your arms and legs limber, keep your muscles toned, electrical stimulation, keep the bones strong, so that someday when this becomes more accepted, then we'll find out whether it will really, really help you. Now, we have a different system of health here in this country and other countries. We have a much more aggressive legal system. We have much more strong regulation. So it's hard for sometimes scientific studies to take place simply because you're afraid of being sued, or you're not going to get the support, or you'll be castigated publicly for doing something that's not acceptable. And I always felt that these things should be left to the doctors and the researchers and the nurses who do this kind of work, and then we can decide what works and what doesn't. If you're not going to help if you're not going to hurt the patient, there's nothing else you can do for them. If there's any science behind it, I'm all for it. I never want to be in a position where I'm the final executioner, where I tell the patient, there's nothing in this entire world that can be done for you. It's all done, there's nothing else that can be done. And although I'm a loyal American, I'm not jingoistic enough to say that the only medicine in the world is American. Nothing else exists anywhere else in the world. I'm not like that when it comes to people's care. It's the greatest country in the world, but things go on in other countries, and sometimes those discoveries are brought here. The AIDS virus was isolated and discovered. What AIDS is all about started in France and came back to the United States. We're not always on the cutting edge. And like I said with Cameron, I've seen how he's improved. Now, I know that some people will say, well, a lot of people have optic nerve hypoplasia. Well, they'll get better on their own. I'm not convinced about that. Generally, it's just set. There's a dieback where the optic nerve dies. And also, you had Mortier syndrome, which is much more global. There's a lot of other problems with Cameron that seem to be reverting. His hypothalamus, his pituitary is acting better. Developmentally, he's doing better. He's more social now. Much more social. He interacts much better. I know he can see. He may not be able to see the way we see, but I know he can see in certain quadrants. That's not unusual when you have congenital eye disease. There's always one area where you see the best. I'm open-minded enough to want to see patients do this. It's very expensive, very scary, going to a foreign country, thousands upon thousands of dollars just to travel and have the treatment done. Then you have to have the physicians back here who are willing to take up your care once you come back. A lot of times there's a lot of follow-up as far as rehab, hyperbaric oxygen, the nursed stem cells. It can be difficult, but it just might be a way of the future. We want to take baby steps and be very careful. We're not sending droves of people to China to have this done. First of all, it's prohibitively expensive. But I'm open-minded enough, and a lot of physicians are, to want to hope this works. And I've been around stem cells for a while because of leukemia and because I've had patients do it who just go overseas to have something done. I got to know the Peterson family very well, and I've gotten very close to Cameron, and I can sort of stay on the job and watch this improvement. And then I'll know after many years, yeah, it's the real thing. We should be looking into this on many levels in this country. So thank you for inviting me here. It is exciting being here to be something that may be cutting edge for the so-called hopeless cases. Thank you.